I'm the 11th of 13 kids from 2 parents. And we grew up Catholic just outside of Columbus, Ohio. And I went to public school. The first group of children in my family went all through Catholic school, and then like when we got to the last kids, we all went through public school. My family actually was kind of interesting. My older brothers and sisters were influential. They were always active. They were much older than me. So
what's the age span between the first and
the first and the last is 20 years.
20 years.
My family actually supported me to be an artist. Couldn't do it without them. This isn't unusual. Other artists I know had dyslexia. I had dyslexia, and it wasn't like helped out or anything. It's like I spelled my name backwards. Numbers were like terrible. Reading was tough to, when I was a kid. So I thought, I can read pictures just innately. So I gravitated to that. I projected myself into pictures. I would draw on the wall at home. I would like hide behind the sofa and draw on the walls. So whenever they vacuumed, they'd pull the sofa away and they'd see all these drawings on the walls. So then my parents enrolled me into Saturday art classes when I was 5. So I went all the way through high school at this Columbus College of Art Design Saturday school for kids, and that's where I went to college. I didn't even have a choice about college. I just knew that I would go to that college because I was familiar with it, and it was really good. When I was in undergraduate, the last thing that I remember of undergraduate school was another class had an exhibition of black and white Trompe painting, and they were like black and white photographs, and they were kind of mysterious. It's sort of kind of like, this is kind of realistic, but it's black and white. And, I sort of had to try to figure it out because it wasn't my class and I didn't do that project, but it was very interesting.
Trompe l'oeil in French means?
Fool the eye. If you think that it's something that it's not, then it's a trompe l'oeil. So if you see a photorealistic painting by Chuck Close and you think it's a photograph, but it's a painting, then that's trompe l'oeil. This mural is a pandemic mural. The homeowners wanted to come outside and have a nice environment because nobody's going out during the pandemic. They love Tuscany, and they had a photograph of their favorite place. So they provided me with this photograph to paint. Now under here is a lot of torn up tar. That was making this a very dull place to be. It's all this black tar. So they wanted to liven this up, bring some joy to their space, and show their favorite place in Tuscany. Now, painting over tar, the paint holds. It's acrylic paint. It's acrylic mural paint, and it holds over the tar. Now, there's a lot of texture, but instead of having the texture be something to fight against, you invite that texture into the painting to become part of it. So you can paint an undercolor and then do some dry brushing on top and have some very interesting interactions of the colors. Here we have the green and the blue, the violet and the oranges, and so you can do a nice blend that way. They bring their table out and they have a really nice pergola here to create a nice environment to elicit their time in Tuscany. They found me on a bidding website, and one of the things that's interesting is they had me add their own house. This is the house that we're standing at right now, and then they had me put their own little dog in. So if you look over to the right side, you'll see there's a little dog in the corner. So that's cool. Their pup. Well, this is a dog community, dogs and children.
Yeah.
Where do you live?
Cincinnati.
Hey, you're a Buckeye. I'm from Columbus.
Are you?
Yeah.
Oh, there
and I
you
moved
go.
here to go to school, and I stayed. Hey, I could be delivering kegs of beer, hating life, right? Or I don't know what other kind of crazy indoor job or something, but I'm lucky to have this work.
Yeah, you are. It's hard for us, right?
Well, I'm doing very steady now.
Yeah, steady is the important part.
The hard thing about this mural was, where do I write Dogs of Del Rey? I centered it on the windows, but then you've got the tree.
No, you did the right spot.
Okay, I'm thinking maybe I should put it over that window.
You get it between the windows. That makes sense.
Yeah, it makes more sense. But see the center of the.
I see that. Yeah.
The apex of the.
I see why you could have went either way. Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of hard, but
But it worked out great.
The great part is how the space worked out.
Yeah.
I mean, around the pipes and around the objects.
Sure.
Yeah, for sure.
So it worked out pretty good. But they gave me photographs, right? People provided the photographs of their dog. And so I would kind of interpret their dog. So then, this one is sort of like a cartoon. This one looks like a cartoon.
Yeah.
And then this one here, Josie,
Yeah.
was kind of serious, you know.
Yeah.
So I've done like 500 dogs now.
And you would be if you didn't start.
This is like 300. This is 300, and then the other mural is about 200 dogs.
Oh wow.
So I know all the dogs.
You do. You're lucky.
I know. I'm lucky.
Very lucky.
No, her dog is lucky.
We're rolling right now. What the hell is this here, Patrick?
Well, now we're in Del Rey looking at a mural called Dogs of Del Rey. This was commissioned by the Del Rey Business Improvement District, and they came to me and they said, we want to do a mural of dogs. So we negotiated and talked about how do we show a lot of dogs. Do we do a landscape and have them playing? Well, that would be all low, you know, so it's like we went for individual portraits. I wondered who would put their dog in a mural? Well, the response was outrageous, so now I'm doing a second dog mural. So there's some funny stories like Cole. The photograph was kind of like this, but I like it because it's sort of like those high school acrylic paintings where you have the evil side and the good side of the face. And some dogs have funny names like Banjo, but Banjo was actually photographed in front of the moon. So in the back is you know, this partial circle, but that was the moon. They kept asking me when I'm going to paint Jack. So finally, when I get to Jack, I put his name up really big so that they would be able to see it. One of the things that's very interesting about doing the dogs is to make them feel alive, you've got to put a highlight in their eye. And when they're outdoors, the highlight is the sky color. So a little bit of a blue highlight really gives them a little extra life in their eyes, plus it brings a little more color. Dogs are mostly black and white and brown and yellow, so it's a very limited color. So to add the blue to the eye and to have their tongue brings a lot more color. So that's why I like it when their tongues are sticking out. It brings, you know, it brings color to a black dog. There are 300 dogs on this mural, and on the other mural that I've done, for people who still wanted to be in the mural, that mural now has 200. So I've got like painted 500 dogs.
And you don't have assistance for this kind of thing?
I did this all by myself, and again I use golden acrylic mural paint. So this is really holding up pretty well. This is already a few years old, 3 years old, and it looks pretty good. It's in very good shape, and the color has not faded at all.
Were you dreaming about dogs for like months?
Yes, I love dogs, and I've come to love them more. I'm now a dog myself.
Yeah.
The bigger thing is if I can include my children, or, you know, for them to be proud of me. If I can have some kind of connection to my son or daughter about that. They're very good artists anyway. My daughter was on the cover of a local newspaper when we were painting Christmas windows. So she came along with me to do some stuff. I'd love to have them, you know, come along. It can be boring for them sometimes because, you know, it gets long. Here's another one. This is on a bicycle shop, and it depicts a New York style fruit and vegetable stand. And while I was painting, I see there's a lot of children and dogs in Del Rey. So I started to put in children, including my son and my daughter, and the woman who works at the nail shop around the corner. I've got her son in there too. This is about 10 years old, and one of the things that happened was I used a bunch of different paints, and some of the paint has faded from light over 10 years. I'll have to come back and touch that up. But that's a very serious issue to deal with. So you've got to use light fast colors. And that's what you use, acrylic mural paint from Golden, or you use any of these other manufacturers to make sure that you retain your chroma. You need some bright color. So I'll come and touch that up later.
How does this stay interesting for you? Does it ever get old?
The thing that stays interesting is it's always a new kind of project. So I'll do a mural of dogs, then I'll do something with George Washington, and then there will be a landscape or a jungle or a bar. So I've worked for actually churches, restaurants, bars, residences, and even a school bus dealership. Oh. So just a whole incredible variety of clients. So that keeps it interesting, and then what their needs are is also interesting. So I think the best stuff that I do comes from a bit of a collaboration within the context of what they want.
The first thing we did was you and I laid down on the
That's
floor.
right, that's the thing.
Right here.
And
we looked up at the space, it was completely blank, and we said, what is our vision? What do we want it to look like? I knew I wanted a medallion up there, and I knew I wanted nature. I wanted sky, and I wanted plants, a variety of plants. I told you what my favorites were, and you went outside and found branches of pine and branches of redwood tree. He would go outside and he would find branches from various different trees, because I wanted the plum tree up there, and I love fir trees and pine trees, and he would go out and bring in small branches from them.
As a model.
Yeah. And use those to sort of inspire himself. And these are not easy to do because those are trapezoids. Those are not rectangles. And the molding was perfect because we had a person who did perfect molding. But then you did the perfect design in each one of the boxes.
So what I've done is I've used the wall paint color and iridescent tinting medium. So the tinting medium is reflective, and you put it over the regular paint and it will make it a lighter color. And so what happens is you just then use the same color on top. In some lights you see it, and in some lights it just disappears. So that's the interest here. So the client likes the shape of acanthus leaves, and so that's what I was working with, was to, how do you fill the shape with motion and give a good silhouette.
I insisted on a curved staircase, which made your job much harder.
Well, I love a challenge.
And you rose to the challenge.
How old is this car?
This is a 1987. It's a great car. It was
Yeah.
my wife's bachelorette car.
Oh, wow.
So we bought a car, which is her married car.
Yeah, it's the car that you can take places.
Yes,
Yeah.
and then this is a car that nobody wants to ride in.
So what was it like working in a place like this compared to the other places you've worked in?
Well, this was really great because I got to do giant ice cream cones, and the imagery was crazy, so I enjoy that. But this was essentially like the guy says, I want a big ice cream cone, a balloon man. And here's the thing, this is a sign of the time. The balloon man has no race. He is race neutral. He's neither black, white, Asian, or anything. He's actually a blue man because his hands are blue.
I see.
So I think I'm going to paint blue people from now on. This is my multiculturalism, is the balloons. The balloons themselves encompass all color. And that's what the great thing was to have all this color and the transparencies. This was enjoyable to paint. Well, this particular client, he was so picky, he wanted like very specific stuff like M&Ms with an M on it. It's like so small that, it's ridiculous. But, that was the job, so I did it. After I'd finished something, there would be more details added and added. But in a contract, it's all finite. As much as you get paid, you can put in that much detail. That's why, certain things cost more and certain things are less. Perspective in buildings is more than, landscape, because it's all organic. You've got to know the people a little bit. I do have meetings. Sometimes I make a full-out sketch. Sometimes it's just a pencil drawing. Sometimes they just say, go and do it. Sometimes we just look at reference images and they say, you can make it up. But mostly there's always going to be some kind of preliminary work. When the client contacted me to begin this mural, it originally was going to be about a 4 foot by 4 foot painting. But when I came to meet with them, the husband client suggested let's just do the whole wall. And then once we had this whole wall, it only made sense to wrap it around the room and to carry it through, because the concept is that you're on this patio. This image was based on something I already painted for another client, in that it was some vertical trees, and they liked that landscape. So the client asked for water with the lotus flowers or the floating in there and the lily pads. So it was to have some water elements and these trees. The architecture came from the house itself, where you can see these sorts of pillars and this kind of balustrade, and the floor is continued up into the mural. The color situation is it's blue in the sky, and then it becomes purple in the mountains to blue to turquoise to green to a green yellow. So there's a sense of a rainbow, which helps make a sense of space. The space is also shown by being painted in the corners so that it's a painting that surrounds you. Now this is more photorealistic or just realistic than some of the other work I've shown, but that's because I had a lot of time to work on it. In this sunroom, the client specified to have a lot of plants, and many of the plants are specific to India. This is not, but this was a tree here to fill this space because of the size we have here. So that can fill the space. But when we get over to here, these were specifically Indian plants that the client gave me to study, and I've made them all within these spaces. So when I had a meeting with the client, the first meeting with the client, I had to bring my children, who were maybe 6 and 8 at the time, and they had just sanded the walls and there was an inch of dust on the floor. So I'm meeting with the client, talking to them, looking at the wall, looking at the room, and all of a sudden a kid goes swimming across the floor in all of this dust. And I look at him and then trying to talk to the client, and then all of a sudden another kid runs across from closet to closet, doors slamming.
They hired you anyway, though, huh?
They hired me despite that, and and actually they had a housewarming party when this was all finished, and they invited my family, and it was a really wonderful event. They were very generous. The client contacted me to do a breakfast room, and we were trying to figure out what the theme would be. She's from Guyana, and so I thought, well, we could do biographical stuff. That's always, something people enjoy, and a good way to start these projects. So since she's from Guyana, we did a jungle room with birds. So that's called the Birds of Guyana. And each part of these subsequent rooms is a different aspect of my client's personality. And so in this bedroom, we're doing all these high-end shops because she really loves purses and makeup. So that's what the genesis of this whole theme is. This client has these 4 photographs of just high-end Paris shops, like a Chanel. So she wanted to have these painted in her room. And these allow you to have a lot of texture and a lot of gold. So there's some marble, there's lettering, curtains, tassels, and we're going to put merchandise in the windows. In this Hermes, we're going to put shoes, and then over here there's Prada, we'll have purses. So it's just like her favorite things. Mm-hmm. And it's set in a Trompe shop is what it is. Mm-hmm. So there's 5 shops, and it's going to really redefine the space.
Kelly, Amaya.
How do you know Patrick, and how did he get you into this?
I find out about Patrick when he teach in Torpedo Factory. So I was one of his students, and I was ready in business for decorative paint. He had a project. When he has good projects like this and other ones, he calls me to do fusion of work. It's like a full finishes and decorative paint and plasters. When it's needed, he calls me or put me in the project because he's so good what he does.
Definitely.
Sometimes he doesn't need help, but I offer myself always to try to help him. Well, this is plasters and all glitters, and practically in the stencils has a lot of beads, bead glasses, broke glasses too. And that's why it's so much bright and shimmering. This is a new technique, it's the new materials in the market. Huh. And always Patrick makes sure he will introduce this kind of finish because his job is so exceptional.
This kind of is like the icing on the cake.
Correct, yes. And he has such a good eye for everything and design.
True.
So I love working with him.
This is your specialty. This is really
the
amazing.
Kind of things is my specialty. Because I do everything about walls. So, but like I say, Patrick is who does practically the designs for clients and make sure that he will introduce in each house.
The reward for being an artist is being an artist, because now I can have a relationship in a sense with the 5-year-old version of myself, because that 5-year-old kid was saying be an artist as an adult, and now this adult is saying to the kid, I've done that.